Goodwill chairs upcycled to spring decor. Let's do it. Here are my two chairs. I paid $5 a piece for these chairs. They are solid birch wood, and I did find them on Amazon still for sale. They were $350 for both of these chairs. They're not in bad shape. I went ahead and got those cleaned up, and I'm ready to get the surf prep out. I had 100 grit on there. This has some sprayed lacquer paint, and I am going to go ahead and give this a scuff sanding, and we're ready for molds. So I have my Let's Resin mold, and this is a 2-part A-B, 50-50, 2-minute work time, 10-minute cure time. And I have my little cups, my glue, and my molds are ready. My area is clean right now, and I am going to start adding these. Well, now my area is not clean. 2 cups, mark them with a Sharpie, A and B. Each cup is 30 mils. You've got 60 mils of resin in here now. When you stir that with the stick, kind of slow, 10 seconds, maybe 20 if you have more. If you feel it get warm, it's time to pour. Now, I was going to put the small little mold along the sides, and I thought, no, I only have one. I'll be here pouring 15 mils like forever. So I changed that to doing stencils on that, and I have an I.O.D mold, and I am pouring my resin in there, and I love I.O.D molds. They tell you how many mils you need, and it has a nice edge on it, so it doesn't run all over. I have to watch these carefully. I need to take them out when they're slightly just starting to break free from the mold itself. I rolled this one out because it was still pretty soft, but it's a pretty big one. And when I got to the end, it was still pretty soft, and you'll see that that very leaf at the very point is still very soft and flexible. I had to actually take and pinch a bit of that off because it did get distorted slightly. Tite Bond glue, quick and thick. This is about how much I put on all the way to the ends, and I'm ready to put it on. With a big one like this and how tight I have to turn around, I have to keep that pressure on the top of that mold or the mold's just going to move while I am pressing the sides down with both of my hands to get those around that corner. With continued pressing and continued pressure on the top so it doesn't move. And you do have to go back and check them like every 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Then they will be solid. Now clean your mess up with your glue because it just looks not so nice when you put your paint on. So there we are. I have all of my molds going up the leg, across the side, and all the way up the top. And I don't know how many molds I made. I kind of did a calculation. There has to be pretty close to 600 molds between both of these chairs. And it did take me 3 weeks to get both of these chairs done. Silk all-in-one paint in the color Endless Shore. I'm going to roll it. Then I have to hand paint this and all the crooks and crannies. That is the color for the first chair. There it is, all painted. Now I have some terraclay paint because I couldn't find another color in acrylic that I liked for this, so I'm going to use this. I know it looks dried out, but when you have clay paint, just add some water and you can reconstitute it. I went ahead and got my leaves painted, my white flowers, and used a Posca for the yellow. Now I have the pink Posca for my little buds, and I'm just going to put a dot on there of the paint and a wet paint brush and just smooth that paint over my little bud. And that was how I completed all the buds on this. So let's take a look at the whole package, and I'm ready to start my stenciling. So the stenciling is going to be done in just these 2 colors. The colors are Deep Sea from Dixie Belle, and then I'm using Liquid Gold Leaf. This liquid gold leaf is difficult to work with, but I love it. Its viscosity is very liquidy, and you really have to unload your brush and be careful when you're putting it down. But once you get the hang of how it lays down, it is really fun to use. And you can clean your stencils with Goo Gone. That will take that gold off your stencil. So here it is with the top portion, my gold completed. I am going to do that last rung, and these back rungs are curved inward. So there is some manipulation in holding that stencil down, but just do your best. And with this gold leaf, a lot of time if I've just loaded my brush, I'll take it to a big area like that big open paisley and then work it out from there. And then I get less bleeding. I went ahead and did the stenciling all along both edges, along the fronts and the sides of the chair to tie that design together. Then I went to the seat and I taped off my stencil. I needed something that went with the pattern, but that gold. So I just taped it off and came up with like a rose type pattern and filled in where it needed some help. And finally, I'm almost done with this chair. We'll take a look at it from the bottom up. Now, I used the all-in-one because of the primer. The things that are not going to have primer on it, on this chair has terraclay paint on it, so it needs to be sealed. So let's go seal it. So 2 sprays, Minwax and Rust-Oleum Clear Matte Top Coat. Get the Rust-Oleum. The Minwax made my gold leaf run. Okay, I've got some Chameleon wax and gilding wax. I got lilac, apricot, and cactus. Now here's my leaves before. Here's after the cactus wax. I am going for adding the waxes. Lilac and apricot inside the flowers and the buds. And this is what it looked like. It just gave it so much more depth. Chair number 2. I needed to put that primer on here because I had a lot of areas of open wood. I didn't have to put it on the whole chair. Now you can see I'm starting to add my molds on this side, and you want to build. Like I'm putting like the stems down in one area where it could possibly be coming out of. So it kind of tells its own story. And press it down. And then you can see while I was doing that, that little end came up on the bottom, on the back of that leaf. That's why you have to keep checking it. You need to keep checking it for at least the first 10 minutes. I have a little space to add that little flower in. So we'll get that one in place. And here we go. Some of those tools to work with resin would be very helpful. Now I started to paint my flowers, and here we have the Silk All-in-One in the Deep Sea because of the primer and the top coat. And once again, we have to get in all the crooks and crannies. You need to look every direction, and this is why. You look down from the top, you look from the side, and I probably had to go over at least 4 times, and I still caught one I missed in this picture. Now I'm ready to roll. And I am going, there's the bottom of the chair, guys. Look at how nice it is. It was so pristine and clean. It's heavy duty. This is a heavy duty chair. So I'm going to go ahead and get this chair painted up. It's going to take 2 coats. I know that already. Not a problem. We'll get this rolled on, and then we'll get ready to get our stencils and our paints out. I am ready to roll. Now, these were the only stencils I used in these chairs. This top portion right there for the gold at the top of the chair. 2 of these long ones for running down the side, and then this big one in its top corners for the patterns on the chair. So these were the only ones that I did use. Oh, what? Well, we got to fix that. When that dries, I'm going to have to repaint that. Yeah, you're never going to get out of a project without something going wrong for you. It always does. Here are the 5 paint colors in acrylic that I'm going to use on these flowers and leaves on this chair. Now, these are all going to be acrylic, so I really don't need to spray this chair, but I did anyway just for more protection. I have the brown Posca pen, and here is what I do. I just put a little in where there might be a stem, get my brush wet, rub it around in there, and then just maybe wipe the top with your finger or a cloth, and then you take that excess paint off the top and that dark will stay down in them grooves. Did all my flowers, and we are ready to start with the pink again. And same process here. I usually only will do like maybe 4 buds at a time, about this much, because that acrylic will start to dry. So, you have enough working time to do that. Everything's painted, and I'm putting on my cactus Chameleon wax from Dixie Belle and buffing it. The wax has been put on all of the flora on this side of the chair. I'm buffing it all up. Here's the difference. The chair's done. Here's my $5 each Goodwill chairs I turned into these 2 beauties. Thank you once again for watching. Click my little picture over here on the right. Subscribe, it's free.